Hey folks, it's Laura with Raintree Nursery, and today we are with one of our longtime customers and good friends, Zsofia Pasztor from Farmer Frog at Paradise Farm. You've been a customer of Raintree's for a long time, right?
Yes. Yes, I'm trying to remember back. I think it was in the early 90s, the first time we came to the US in 89. So moved up to this area in 1990. And in the first couple of years, I was always talking to people who were involved, with food and food growing and especially trees and whatnot. And I started hearing Raintree, Raintree, Raintree. And so initially, when I first encountered the nursery, it was still the brochures, the printed catalogs
Yeah.
that were just full of information. And I used to have my seed catalogs and the Raintree catalog and all at night and go to bed with, just reading them. Learning about all the different things that they had and all those wonderful pieces of information. And what really got me with Raintree is just the vast variety of fruit trees and shrubs from all over the world, and a lot of the varieties that I was familiar with because I grew up with them, in Hungary growing up, and it was really nice to see those because when we moved, but we immigrated and then we left and then were taken up by the U.S. government as refugees. But when we came here, these things, were not so necessarily available. And so seeing them and seeing the understanding of the variety and the species, it was good, and it felt like, oh yeah, this is a little bit of piece of home. So yeah, that's how I got initially introduced to Raintree, and then it turned out that some of my friends, as I got more involved in the plant community, knew Sam, and we I can't even I think we came down to the nursery. That's when I first met Sam. I think that's how it went. And then also at Edmonds College we connected, and I think we took a grafting class, and just sort of like over the years, just repeat, and we always had wonderful conversations with him.
Yeah.
And it really just strikes me now, even thinking about Sam. He's got such a fine balance of science and scientific knowledge and understanding,
Mm-hmm.
and also a sixth sense of horticulture, if you will. It's he has a really genuine instinct and knowing about what will work, and also how the systems work at large. So
Yes.
one of the greatest risks that we often see, actually, especially in the edible horticulture side of things, when a new thing is introduced and doesn't it taste good, and look how well it's growing, and it turns out to be a vicious spreader or something bad.
Mm.
And he just has that fine line, that real good understanding of it will do good, but it's not a problem. And I think that's a very unique quality about him. So yeah, I just enjoyed all the conversations, and I always learned more and more about everything. And so I was one of the groupies when Sam showed up.
Sam Groupie,
Yeah,
I love it.
when he showed up at the show for for our show or whatever event, and he was doing something, I was always somewhere in the area, just like,
Yeah, I
so
want to hear the
excited.
newest thing.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to ask you, why do you think perennial food producing plants are an important part of a garden system? I mean, most people, when they think of a garden, they think of rows of seed annual plants, and they don't really think of perennial food plants. I think they're super valuable, but I want to hear why you think they're valuable.
Perennials bring us food and improving food over time. So I look at them not as an or, but as an annual end. And then over time, it's a perennial end. So as perennial plants mature, the quality of the food improves often, and of course the volume. And they have a lifespan while they really are their prime. In our traditional food ventures as a civilization, we actually relied a lot on perennial and woody foods and roots, branches, twigs, leaves, flowers, and fruits and seeds, and even pests of them, some of the fungus and whatnot. They were very important, and the annuals were more of the hit and miss, and especially annuals were used if they were self-seeders. So there's definitely a traditional knowledge that was suppressed for a while because the annuals are much easier for mechanization and big ag. But I think that as we find our way back to our roots, all of us literally in the various parts of the world, we all discovering our traditional perennial and especially woody edibles. And it's easier on the long run. It's more cost effective on the long run. And it's also more freeing because we have better variety in a smaller space. And as a family unit, as an individual, as a small community, we actually can produce larger diversity in our foods for our own self.
So you've said that one of the things you like about Raintree is that you can find varieties that remind you of home. Tell me some of your favorites that you found in the catalog over the years that just went, oh, this is just like home.
Yeah, they are not the hardiest. They get the bacterial canker. It's the Pacific Northwest, but the Danube cherries are just always. And the various sour cherries. My goodness, sour cherries. We have the best sour cherry soup, the best sour cherry strudels, and it's just, my goodness. And it's different than the pie cherry. Sour cherries are just a little different. And that was really just when I first saw it. Oh, yeah. Talking about cherries, another thing that is just incredible is all the cornelian cherries.
Yes.
And very few places carry the cornuses, especially multiple varieties.
Yes.
I can get so full on those things. I just really sit by the tree or the shrub versions, whatever we have. We have now a lot of different ones because of Raintree, and just gobbling them up, and they are so good, and they make the best jam. This is also very good to really thicken it up as butter. I don't put the sugar amount that typical recipes require. There is no 5 cups fruit and 7 cups sugar, no way. But they just have such a natural flavor that is really deep. And I love adding them to other things too. So that's a very, very good and rare find that Raintree carries.
Plus they ripen later. You get all your early cherries,
exactly.
And then you get the whole cornelian cherry experience.
All of those,
6-8 weeks later.
Yeah, and they bloom before anybody else.
Yeah.
So they are also good for, so many of the pollinators, plus for us, it's springtime coming, there's hope. Cornelian cherries are blooming. And then I also just love, that just the leaf structure. It's just so nice with the veins. It's a very beautiful plant.
Yeah.
I don't know what would be the third ranking one, ribes or aronia. Those are both winners. I love currants. Gooseberries, yes, although they have thorns, so as a kid you learn. But the currants just look like little jewelry.
Oh, don't they look
right?
beautiful?
And they just beautiful, amazing. The color is really good, and that flavor, again, the flavor. You know, they are like miniature grapes when you pick them. They also stay fresh on the shrub for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't, it's not like, oh, you have to pick everything right now and then it spoils. If you don't get to it, they actually carry on the stem.
And the birds don't seem to take them as
No,
often.
because, you know, mama bird doesn't train them. That's food here yet. You know, it will take a few decades, I think. But, yeah, it's just really delicious. You can make all kinds of wonderful things, juices also from it. And aronia is another one. You know, that's just if we're talking juice. So just the flavor is really nice. So yeah, these are my absolute favorites. But then, you know, there is the medlar.
Yes.
One of those you don't even know that you still have fruits out, and it's, you know, almost the holidays, and there you go. That's just such a gift from the garden.
Oh yeah, and to be able to wander around and just kind of pick a couple and eat them.
And they're so sweet.
Oh yeah.
So sweet.
Yeah.
I always tell people to peel it, because, you know, they just like bite it, and it's like, well, no. You need to learn how to eat these.
Yes.
But they are delicious. So yeah, those are, you know, when I was just initially thinking about what I missed, you know, those were all good. And quince, I cannot have enough quince.
Oh yes.
When you came, you know, you saw I have quince everywhere because it's one of the most important fruits. It's, if you really are using fruits to cook with, it can be paired with anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it will only make it better.
Absolutely.
And then it's also nice on its own. And the membrillo.
I puree my quince and I add it to my spaghetti sauce.
Yes.
And it makes it a little sweet.
Yeah.
Just deeper, richer.
And thickens
thickens up really nicely. Yes.
It's just great. Yeah. Yeah. When I had a lot more time, I would do quince, just can it halfway. Just can it with the canner, but not cook it into jam. And then later next year, as the early fruits were coming in, I would add some quince and make these incredibly tasty concoctions. Oh. But yeah, it's a good thing. So yeah, it's just to me easy to grow in this area, and none of them will become a real problem. It's we actually have a lot of the currants on our own, the flowering currants. So why not add things that you have enough berries on to eat too? So, and once you show kids what that is, you won't have too much currants for sure.
Yeah.
Because they just kid size. I would love to see farms figure out a little bit more production, you know, and get it into more of the mainstream. I think that would be really good for our soul and bodies. The nutrition would be really important.
Yeah, absolutely. It's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming. People are finding
Yeah.
the unusual fruits.
Yes. Yeah.
And once they find them, then they say, well, what else don't I know about?
Exactly. And how did I live without them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I know you've been a customer of Raintree's since the early 90s. And I know you've bought a lot of plants, but have you built relationships with Sam and with the people that you met at sessions that Sam's done that have followed you as well?
Well, yes, and I followed them too. It's just, connections and relationships like with you, right? And then just many people at Seattle Tilt too, who were really just part of the group. And, you know, Mike Mackey, Mark Music, and just so many others. And yes, coming back and recognizing the people and some of the younger folks. It's really nice to see younger people because, we are a little bit
getting up there.
Yeah, right. We've known about Raintree for how many years now, right?
Only 30. Hey, it's been around for 50, so you know we're just like right in the middle of things. Right?
Yeah, so we are thinking about, you know, the younger generation and how we are going to support their interest, because it's critical.
Mhm.
And I think one of the greatest strengths of Raintree is that it was able to build a community without actually setting out and saying, okay, I'm going to build a community. Raintree Nursery is not a commune, but still there is a group of people who just are regulars. And back in the day when it wasn't all online, interaction, we would have more FaceTime, but we still, run into each other, and then you're talking, and oh yeah, and even across the country sometimes, I'm engaged with others, and they say, oh yeah, I just ordered something, from in Washington. What is it called? Raintree. And I'm just like, oh, okay.
It's in my backyard.
Yeah, that's right. We are kindred spirits. And so it's just so important. I think in all of this, anytime when we are thinking about trees, there is this saying that someone who plants a tree has true hope and faith. And I really believe that. We rarely plant trees for ourselves. Even with the fastest growing fruit trees, it will take a while before we can really enjoy it. And it's a multi-generational experience. And anytime we plant these trees, we have to have the faith that there will still be the garden, there will be the orchard, there will be that space, and that the environment supporting it and people enjoying it. So that requires a lot moving forward and making that next step and investment, because we putting trees are not a packet of seeds for an annual plant is a lot less than a tree, and then in the initial investment part, that is a cost, but on the long run, of course, you save the money back. But I think that it's the relationships that are built out of that, and also as the community builds and we exchange information with building the friendships like the Fruit Society, and all the people I have been able to meet through that, through WSU's center as well. It is just character building.
Yeah.
People who grow food and fruit and put themselves out there year after year, season after season. There's a humbleness and a compassion that builds.
Yeah.
And so these communities really have a feel to them. And I think the humaneness is there more than without the trees.
I agree. Yeah. As always, it's just a delight to spend time with you. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you for having me.
Raintree. And that's it. Thanks for joining us. It's Laura with Raintree, Zsofia Pasztor from Farmer Frog at Paradies Farm, and we will see you next time.